today's video, we're going to show you how to do a 12,000 mile or 20,000 kilometer service on a BMW K67. Today's date is May of 2024. So as of now, the 2020 models in the USA up to 2024 are exactly the same. So there's really not too much to do for the maintenance according to the manual. We will do a full oil change with the oil filter, and it also asks to replace the air filter as well. But we're gonna add something else to it. We're just gonna check our chain slack and do all that. So we're gonna start with the oil change and oil filter. You will need a T50 for the oil drain bolt. You will need a T25 for the fairing screws and a torque wrench to torque the drain bolt back to spec. Now, obviously we got all that stuff ready. We got the bike lifted in the air. So I'm gonna actually first start by taking off this left side panel, or I'm sorry, the right side panel over here. As you can see, we're gonna take off this one. And I actually have a full how-to video with torque specs included, step-by-step on how to change the oil on the K67. So if you wanna check that out, that will be the first link in the description below. But I'm just gonna buzz through it right now and kind of just go through it quick without really telling you anything. And then we'll get to the air filter and the chain. All right, we got the panel off, and I just wanted to take a minute to admire the beautiful titanium color. Absolutely beautiful. So anyway, next you get your T50 and we'll take out our drain bolt. Before we'll do that though, I like to start the bike and get it up to operating temperature. Usually I like to get this thing to around 200 to really get the oil hot and really flush it out as best as possible. So let's go start the bike. Okay, there's that. We got the M screen going. Okay, let's go start up the bike. Bike is in neutral, and obviously we have it on our stand just so that the bike's straight up and down. Alright, I'm gonna let this warm up and then we'll get back. So we're at 187 degrees, so that's basically hot enough. Obviously, I'll shut off the key. I'm going to drain the oil and let that drain until it stops, and then we'll start on the oil filter. All right, I already cracked my bolt loose. And we'll start to take this out. Put that where it needs to be. All right, and there goes the oil. This fucker is hot. Thank God I wore gloves. Definitely wear gloves, guys. So while that's almost done draining, obviously we'll take off our cap just to get better airflow. Make sure you have the little rubber on there because that's very important. And all right, let me get back in probably a half hour, 30 minutes. I like to let this drain for. It's always a good rule of thumb to look at your oil drain plug. Something like this where you see a little bit of metal shavings is pretty normal, especially if you're riding hard. But obviously if you're seeing a ton of excess stuff like this and a ton more in the oil, then you may have an issue, but this is pretty normal. So I'll clean this off. I'll throw out the old crush washer. You can reuse them, but since the kit comes with one, we're not gonna worry about that. So we'll put the new fresh crush washer on and then we'll clean this up really good. We cleaned our oil plug with the magnetic part, which is nice. Put the new crush washer on there. We'll take a look at the oil, and it doesn't really look bad at all. I'm not really seeing any metal shavings, just normal oil, which is really good. So awesome, good stuff. Obviously, we'll check out the weep hole underneath there, right over there. We'll check that out because I know a lot of people have had problems with it leaking, but I think this one has been fine. So let me go drain this oil now. Since we checked that, there's not really anything we could see. I'll look at it as I'm dumping it just to see if there's anything that catches my eye. But other than that, it's pretty clean considering. So I put some tin foil over the headers because obviously I don't want any oil getting on them when I take off the oil filter. I'm going to use my tool for the oil filter right here. Nice and skinny, that will fit inside there, no problem. I know some people do take off this hose, and you could definitely do that, but this way, at least we're not messing with no O-rings or anything like that. I know it's simple, but that way there's a guarantee if it's not leaking now, it's not going to leak later. That's why I took off the radiator bracket over there, and I can literally just, after taking it off, I can fit it right through here. It is tight. Some people might have to actually take off their bracket for their exhaust and just push down on the exhaust a tiny bit to get it out. But I'm going to go loosen this and let the oil drain. All right, we drained our oil. We have our new crush washer and our drain bolt on here. Always good to tighten it by hand as much as possible, and then I'll torque it to spec. So let me just tighten this up, and then I'll torque it. I always stick with the BMW oil and the OEM filters. I took oil, I poured it into the cap, and obviously I run around the ring a whole bunch of times to make that super saturated. Now I'll go install that in the block. We'll take our tool right here, we'll tighten it up good. We'll clean up the pipes after we put this part on, and then we'll start putting in our oil. So I always just put one quart in at first to just make sure there's no leaks, and obviously if there's no leaks, then I'll put the other 3 quarts in, but we'll start with the first quart. So I checked and there's no leaks at all, so I'm just going to put the rest of the 3 quarts in now. Oil's all set. We got our cowl back on. Now we'll start the bike. You'll see the oil drain. We'll let it run for at least 30 seconds, and you'll see that it will probably be right back in the middle when it settles down. As you can see, it's right in the middle where it should be with the 4 quarts, so that worked out perfectly. So now I'll go lower the bike so that I can get to the air filter, and of course I'll reset the service reminder using the GS911. All right, so I just reset the GS911. As you can see, it says status okay. There was no service thing. And when we go over here, next due date is, I do around 3,000 miles. It was a little bit short when I put it, but either way, I like to do 3,000 miles. I set the year higher just in case I didn't ride this bike too much this year. But all right, so that's all set. Now I'm going to get to the air filter and start ripping this stuff off. Next, get your T25. You're going to take off this bolt, and this bolt right here. We may have to take these 2 off as well, but we'll first get this cover off. Something to note is that this front bolt right here is the longer out of the 3 bolts for this one cover. You got the 2 short ones over here and the longer one in the front. Now this will just come right up. You'll have to pull on the sides because there is either Velcro and or a clip. There's 1. Just lift up 2. There might even be a 3rd Velcro. There we go. Okay, and nothing's broke. You got to be careful when you're putting these things back in. You can see right here and right there that there's the clips, so be careful when you're putting those back in. Obviously it just pulls up. Like I said, 2 Velcros right there and there. Next, there is a bolt right over here. You're going to want to take that out. I'm actually going to take these 2 off as well. right? And this one, there is a washer on this bolt, as you can see, so make sure you don't lose that. So since the cover's off, there is a little plastic piece right here. You just kind of pull it up with the wiring, and then to unbuckle this part, you got to press on both sides and pull it towards the clutch lever side of the bike. Press on both sides, it comes out, push this out of the way, and then literally you can just take this thing up and out without unplugging anything else, and you'll lean it back over here. So I'll go do that now. Obviously these panels are in the way, so it might not be a bad idea to take them off, but I'm pretty sure I could access it without it. So I'm just gonna kind of bring this forward and out like so. Okay, so there's that. You'll see there's the brackets over there. Just be careful of your pieces. That's that one bracket. And this will literally just wipe up like this. Now you can see the air filter right here. To get to it, there is actually two. You gotta be careful with this thing out like that. But there is two parts on the side over here that you push in to get the this plastic piece out, and then you'll just pull out the air filter. You're basically on the side of here. When you go down in here, you'll push on the side and you can start to pull it up. Do the same on the other side. Push on the side and start to pull up. Already got one side, but just want to be careful of this whole ECU. This would definitely be a lot easier if I took the side covers off. Okay, so this is coming off. And basically this thing will just pull straight up. Literally pulls straight up. Okay, so there is that. I will hold this in place, and as you can see, there's this part. It kind of goes from skinny going down. Where this part is, that goes towards the back, this goes towards the front. It kind of shows like a little arrow, or you know, a warning symbol or whatever. So you can see that point right there, that goes towards the front of the bike. So make sure that when this thing is going in, see how it shows the air filter there? It says point, you know, whatever, shows the air filter, and the point going back on the right side. But make sure this one on the left, with this part over here, is facing towards the front. That'll come out. And the air filter can just literally pull straight up. So I will do that now on camera. I will hold the ECU in place and literally just pull up on the air filter. And of course you have to wiggle it through the plastics. Okay, so there's that. Here's our Sprint PLF 185 filter. It is really not that dirty. But let me clean this out. The way you clean out the Sprint air filters is, since this is where the air comes into the front like that, you spray it through the air, compress it through the back, and it will blow everything out. All right, so we have our air filter. I'm gonna spray the stuff out going this way. Let me get this. And like this. All right, so now it's time to either reinstall your current air filter or put a brand new one in. Usually a lot of people stick to OEM, and that is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm going to put this in. You can see that this little square part is more towards the back and the smaller part, and the larger part of the air filter housing is towards the front. So this will just literally go right in. And now I'm really wishing that I took off the side pieces. It doesn't want to seem to be going in right. Okay, so that just drops in like so. Next, we will get our black bracket. Like I said, you see air filter on the left and the arrow pointing up. This is a little dusty, so I'm actually going to wipe it off. And these will just slide into the sides, and make sure that you hear both of them click. And so we will put this in. These plastic pieces go in where the air filter goes in, and then the two parts on the side like this clip on the outer side parts. So make sure when you're putting it in there that it goes in to the part where the air filter is to hold it in place like so, and you'll hear it clip on this side and this side. Clip one. We will reroute this back in. Here's a part where this kind of just clips on and holds the wiring into place. So we move this to the side like so. So like this. And now I need to get this back in here. Keep moving it in. This is going a decent amount. We'll get this out of the way. Okay. Yeah, so next thing you got to do is just move this thing back into place. Obviously, don't forget your wiring. I almost forgot about that. Keep that out over here. This will fall right back down into there. Line up your hole. Get your bolt thread. Get your bolt started. Make sure you do it by hand and don't just force it in. Obviously, you do not want to strip it. Don't forget the washer as well. Okay, T25. And obviously just screw it in lightly to make sure that you're catching the threads, because that's the most important thing. All right. So that looks good. We will plug this back into here. Like I said, just this thing just literally pushes right in, and then this part right here will clip onto the plastic piece. So I'll pull this back. This will click. You heard the click. Okay, and then this part clips right onto here like so, onto that little plastic straight piece. Pull this down a little bit. That is good. We'll tighten up this, and then we can throw our cover back on. All right, next we'll install the cover. Obviously you can see for this is 20 pi to 22, we're very similar. There's a part here and here that goes into the metal clips here and there. You got your two Velcro here and here, which will connect to that. But like I said, this part right here, you can see that you got to be careful. Line that up first and then put it in. There is little notches for it to go right here and here. So you got to make sure those are in place. So let me get those on where it's supposed to. This will go down. And then we will make sure so like I said, these go into the side things right here. So be careful when you're putting these back in. That side is where it needs to be. You go to the other side to get it in. Okay, that is in place. Should be good. You will hear the Velcro. Push down. Get this all in. Should be nice and flush. And then we'll just reinstall all of our bolts. So you want to make sure that this thing is super flush against here. That's how you know you got this in the correct spot. Same with the other side. There shouldn't be any like gaps in between here and there. It should be super tight, nice and neat. So all of this is all buttoned up now. Make sure you press down on here and over here. You will hear it kind of clip together because it has that type of Velcro stuff. It's not like Velcro, it's something a little different. It's like little clip things. But this will clip into place and that'll be good. Obviously, that's it for the 12K service, 12,000 miles. I do mine every 3,000 miles. That's an oil change and filter. BMW recommends 6,000, but obviously doing it earlier won't hurt. I've always done 3,000 miles, and for me, it's served me very well. But yeah, that's basically it for the service. I'm going to add doing the chain. Like I said, we'll end up cleaning it, and then we'll check the slack to make sure it's where it needs to be. This, let's see. I think this is pretty good, actually, where it is. It's probably right in. So if you're not sure, you can just look right on the swing arm. It tells you right there, chain slack, 45 to 50, what is that? Millimeters, 40 to 55 millimeters is the chain slack. So you just find the middle of your chain, and where it is there, you measure there, you push it up high, and see that it goes how far up. And that will tell you if you need to tighten your chain or keep it where it is. Usually you should have it at the right spot already, or you might have to loosen it depending on where it is. But anyway, let's go measure this and see how it is. So 45 to 50 millimeter, it is basically in inches. 50 millimeter would be 1.96, I believe. So as long as this top part right here, excuse me, I got the hiccups right now, doesn't go to the very top of there, I should be good, because we're at like 1.75. All right, so I am basically good. I could probably tighten it up just a hair, and that'll be fine, but I'm basically right at the 50 millimeter, which is like 1.9 inches, so we're good there. Obviously now, next I'll take the chain, I'll clean it, and then I'll put some lube on it. But all right, guys, that's going to be it for the video. Obviously, the 12,000 mile or 20,000 kilometer service is really just an oil and filter change. And then obviously check the air filter and replace it as well. If you're using stock, they always say to do it at that. Obviously, the chain that I'll be doing is just something extra. And in my opinion, it's probably not a bad idea to go through all the bike and check out all the screws and bolts to make sure that everything's nice and secure. I've had some come out on the windscreen before, but if you make them a little bit snug and pretty tight, obviously don't go crazy, but it's probably not a bad idea to go check out all the bolts and do a one over on them just to make sure that they're all snug and secure. All right, and that's it. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll see you in the next video.